I notice her flinch when she reaches for the crystal decanter on my desk, and that's what saves 15 men's lives, or rather, what ends them. It's 3 in the morning, and I'm in my study in my harbour-front mansion in Point Piper, reviewing the financial reports from our shipping operations, the legitimate ones, the ones that provide cover for everything else. The view through the floor-to-ceiling windows is spectacular. Sydney Harbour spread out like black silk scattered with diamonds, the harbour bridge illuminated against the night sky, the opera house glowing white in the distance. I've lived in this house for 5 years, since I took control of the Russo family operations in Australia after my father's death. It's worth $35 million, sits on 3/4 of an acre of the most expensive real estate in the country, and contains enough security technology to rival a government facility. And yet, somehow, I never noticed that one of my staff was being hurt. Her name is Grace Chen, 24 years old, Chinese-Australian, born in Sydney, raised in Hurstville. She's worked in my house for 8 months as part of the domestic staff, one of the faces I see peripherally, but never really look at. The help, the invisible people who keep my life running smoothly while I focus on running an empire that spans legitimate businesses and considerably less legitimate operations. She's reaching for the decanter to refill my whiskey, Penfolds Grange, aged 30 years, worth more than she makes in a month. And when she extends her left arm, something in her movement is wrong. The way she holds her body, the careful, measured quality of the gesture, the split-second hesitation before she commits to the motion. And then I see it, the edge of a bruise peeking out from beneath the sleeve of her black uniform dress. Dark purple, almost black, the kind of bruise that comes from severe impact. "Stop," I say quietly. She freezes, the decanter hovering over my glass. "Sir? Your arm. Let me see it." Her face goes pale. "It's nothing, Mr. Russo. I bumped into a door." "Grace." I keep my voice level, but there's steel underneath. "I'm going to ask you one more time. Show me your arm." For a moment, I think she'll refuse. She's trembling slightly, and I can see her calculating whether she can deflect, whether she can maintain the lie. But something in my expression must convince her that resistance is futile. Slowly, she sets down the decanter and rolls up her left sleeve. The bruising is extensive, deep purple and black finger marks encircling her forearm, the clear imprint of a hand gripping hard enough to break bone. The arm is swollen, the wrist bent at an angle that's not quite right. "It's broken," I say flatly. "I don't think—" "It's broken," I repeat. "And those are finger marks. Someone grabbed you hard enough to fracture your arm." "Who?" She pulls her sleeve back down hastily, her face flushed with shame and fear. "Please, Mr. Russo, I don't want any trouble. It's handled. It won't affect my work. Who did this to you?" My voice hasn't risen, but the temperature in the room seems to drop 10 degrees. I've built my reputation on control, never raising my voice, never losing my temper, never letting emotion cloud my judgment. But underneath that control is something cold and lethal, and right now, every instinct I have is screaming for blood. Grace is shaking now, tears welling in her eyes. "Please, I can't. If I tell you, they'll what?" I stand, moving around the desk. I'm careful to maintain distance, not wanting to frighten her further, but I need her to understand something. "Grace, listen to me very carefully. No one touches my people, no one. I don't care who they are or what they think gives them the right. You work for me. That means you're under my protection, and I protect what's mine." She's crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. "You don't understand. It's my boyfriend, was my boyfriend, Danny Nguyen. He's connected. He knows people, dangerous people." "Connected to whom?" She hesitates, and I see the moment she realizes she's about to cross a line that can't be uncrossed. The Vietnamese crew in Cabramatta, the Nguyen brothers. Danny's cousin runs them. I know the Nguyen brothers. Small-time operation, mostly drug distribution and protection rackets in the western suburbs. We have an understanding. They stay in their territory, we stay in ours. Nobody causes problems. They're not significant enough to be a threat, not powerful enough to be worth eliminating. Useful occasionally for certain types of operations that require local knowledge in areas where the Russo family doesn't have deep roots. But that understanding just became irrelevant. "Tell me what happened," I say, returning to my chair and gesturing for her to sit in the one opposite. "Everything, start from the beginning." She sits perched on the edge of the chair like a bird ready to flee. And then, haltingly, she tells me her story. She met Danny Nguyen 18 months ago at a nightclub in the city. He was charming, attentive, generous with money and affection. She didn't know about his connections at first. He presented himself as a successful businessman, someone on the rise. By the time she discovered the truth about his family and their operations, she was already in love with him. The relationship was good at first. He treated her well, introduced her to a lifestyle she'd never experienced. Expensive restaurants, luxury hotels, designer clothes. But then gradually, things changed. He became possessive, jealous, controlling. He didn't like her working, especially not in my house. He accused her of sleeping with me, with my security staff, with anyone he imagined might be a threat. 3 months ago, she tried to leave him. He responded by showing up at her apartment in Strathfield, the apartment she shares with her younger sister and elderly mother, and threatening her family. He made it clear, if she left, if she told anyone, if she embarrassed him, his family would make her regret it. So she stayed, and the abuse escalated. 2 nights ago, she told him she was done, that she didn't care about his threats anymore, that she'd rather die than spend another day with him. He responded by grabbing her arm and twisting until she heard the bone crack. Then he called 2 of his friends, brothers named Michael and Jason Tran, who held her down while Danny explained in graphic detail what would happen to her mother and sister if she ever tried to leave again or told anyone what he'd done. "They filmed it," she whispers. "Danny filmed the whole thing on his phone, said if I ever spoke to the police or tried to get help, he'd send the video to everyone I know. Make it look like I was cheating on him, like I deserved what happened." She's sobbing now, her good arm wrapped around her broken one, her body curled in on itself, and I'm sitting behind my desk, my hands folded calmly on the leather surface, while inside me, something ancient and violent is waking up. I didn't choose this life, I was born into it. The Russo family has been in Australia for 3 generations, building an empire that spans construction, shipping, real estate, and numerous less legal ventures. My grandfather came from Sicily with nothing and carved out a territory through ruthlessness and strategic brilliance. My father expanded that territory, made us one of the most powerful families in Sydney. And me? I inherited it all at 28, when my father was killed in a restaurant in Leichhardt, a hit ordered by a rival family that no longer exists. I spent my first 2 years as boss consolidating power, eliminating threats, making it clear that the Russo family was not to be challenged. I've killed men, ordered the deaths of many more, destroyed families, businesses, lives. I've done things that would horrify most people, things that ensure I'll never be anything other than what I am, a criminal, a monster, a man who lives in the shadows of legitimate society. But I have rules, lines I don't cross, and one of those lines is this: you don't hurt innocent people. You don't hurt women, you don't hurt family, and you absolutely don't hurt someone under my protection. Danny Nguyen just crossed all of those lines. "Grace," I say gently, "I need you to do something for me. I need you to go upstairs to the guest suite on the 3rd floor. There's a doctor I use, Dr. Sarah Mitchell. She's discreet and she's excellent. I'm going to call her now, and she'll come here to set your arm properly and make sure there's no other damage. You're going to stay in that suite tonight, and you're not going to worry about anything else. Can you do that for me?" She looks up, confused and frightened. "But my mother, my sister, Danny knows where they live. They'll be protected. I'm sending men to their apartment right now. By the time Danny realizes what's happening, your family will be somewhere he can't reach them." "Mr. Russo, I don't understand." "You don't need to understand. You just need to trust me. Can you do that?" She stares at me for a long moment, and I see her making the calculation. Trust the devil she knows or the one she doesn't. Finally, she nods. I press the intercom button on my desk. "Marco, I need you in my study, immediately." Marco Benedetti appears within 60 seconds. He's head of my personal security, ex-military, loyal to a fault. He's also the closest thing I have to a friend, which isn't saying much. I don't have friends. I have assets and liabilities, allies and enemies. "Marco, this is Grace. She works in the house. Grace, this is Marco. He's going to take you upstairs to the guest suite and make sure you're comfortable. Then he's going to coordinate getting Dr. Mitchell here and sending a security team to—" I look at Grace questioningly. "Unit 4, 23 Anderson Street, Strathfield," she whispers. "Unit 4, 23 Anderson Street, Strathfield," I repeat to Marco. "Grace's mother and sister live there. I want a team there within 20 minutes. Full protection detail. They don't leave that apartment without our people, and nobody gets near them. Understood?" Marco's face doesn't change. He's too professional for that, but I see the slight tightening around his eyes. That means he understands this is serious. "Understood." "How many men?" "4. Armed." "And Marco?" I wait until he meets my eyes. This is priority 1. Nothing happens to that family. "Yes, boss." He escorts Grace out, and I watch her go. This small, broken woman who's been suffering in silence while I sat 30 feet away reviewing spreadsheets, oblivious to her pain. The moment the door closes, I pick up my phone and make a call. "It's me," I say when the line connects. "I need information on Danny Nguyen, connected to the Nguyen brothers in Cabramatta. I want everything: where he lives, where he works, who he associates with, his habits, his routines. I want the names of 2 men, brothers, last name Tran, first names Michael and Jason. Same information on them. I want it in 1 hour." I hang up and make another call. "Anthony, it's Luca. I need you to call Tommy Nguyen. Tell him I need a meeting, tonight. Tell him it's urgent and it's regarding one of his family members. He'll understand that's not a request." Anthony Caruso, my consigliere, the person who handles diplomatic relations with other organizations, sounds surprised but doesn't question me. "I'll call him now. Where do you want to meet?" "Neutral ground. The warehouse in Marrickville. 2 hours." "Done." I hang up and sit back in my chair, looking out at the harbor. 2 hours to prepare, 2 hours to gather information, 2 hours to decide exactly how this is going to play out, because Danny Nguyen and the Tran brothers are going to die tonight. That's not a question. The only question is how many others are going to die with them. Dr. Mitchell arrives 40 minutes later, a woman in her 50s, professional and discreet, who's been treating injuries for various members of my organization for years without ever asking questions. She examines Grace upstairs while I wait in my study, reviewing the information that's starting to come in. Danny Nguyen, 27 years old, works at his family's restaurant in Cabramatta, but his real income comes from running drugs and protection rackets. 2 priors for assault, both charges mysteriously dropped. Lives in a luxury apartment in Rhodes, paid for by his cousin Tommy, head of the Nguyen brothers. Drives a BMW M4, wears Rolex watches, frequents high-end clubs in the city. Michael and Jason Tran, 29 and 26 respectively. Both have extensive criminal records: assault, drug possession, weapons charges, known enforcers for the Nguyen operation, live together in Bankstown, known to be brutal and efficient. The file includes photos. Danny is handsome in that slick, over-groomed way some men have. Expensive haircut, designer clothes, gym-built body. The kind of man who thinks his appearance and connections make him untouchable. He's about to learn differently. The Tran brothers look exactly like what they are: thugs. Big, heavily muscled, with the dead eyes of men who've done violence so often it no longer registers as remarkable. I memorize their faces. By morning, these faces will no longer exist. Dr. Mitchell comes down 90 minutes later. "The arm is broken in 2 places," she reports. "Clean breaks, fortunately, but they need to be set properly. I've done that and put her in a cast. She'll need pain medication and antibiotics. The bruising is extensive but will heal. No other injuries that I can find, but she's traumatized. She needs therapy, not just medical treatment. Thank you, Sarah. Send your bill to the usual account. She hesitates. Luca, I know you don't want my opinion, but I'm going to give it anyway. That girl has been abused systematically. This wasn't the first time. She needs protection, and she needs to be far away from whoever did this. She'll have both, I say quietly. Something in my tone makes Dr. Mitchell's eyes widen slightly. She's known me long enough to recognize when I've made a decision that's going to result in consequences. Be careful, she says softly. Don't let anger make you reckless. I'm never reckless, Sarah. You know that. She leaves, and I prepare for the meeting. The warehouse in Marrickville is neutral ground, not controlled by any one organization, which makes it suitable for sensitive negotiations. I arrive with Marco and 3 other men, all armed, all experienced. We're not expecting trouble from Tommy Nguyen. He's smart enough to understand that refusing a meeting request from me would be a mistake, but I don't take chances. Tommy arrives 15 minutes after me, bringing 4 of his own men. He's in his 40s, running to fat, wearing an expensive suit that doesn't quite fit right. He's built the Nguyen brothers into a profitable operation through a combination of ruthlessness and political connections, but he's not in my league and he knows it. Luca, he says, offering his hand, this is unexpected. What's so urgent it couldn't wait until morning? I don't shake his hand. Your cousin Danny. Tommy's expression shifts, becoming guarded. What about him? He's been dating a woman named Grace Chen. She works in my house. 2 days ago he broke her arm. He also threatened her family, and he had 2 of your men, Michael and Jason Tran, help him do it. Tommy's face goes carefully blank. I don't know anything about this. I believe you. Danny's a stupid kid who thinks being connected makes him untouchable. But I need you to understand something, Tommy. Grace Chen works for me. That means she's under my protection. And your cousin violated that protection. Luca, I'm sure we can work this out. If Danny did something stupid, he did something unforgivable. And now there are consequences. Tommy's eyes narrow. What kind of consequences? The permanent kind. Silence fills the warehouse. Tommy's men tense, hands moving towards weapons. My men do the same. The air crackles with potential violence. You're telling me you're going to kill my cousin, Tommy says slowly. Over some girl. Over someone under my protection, yes. And the Tran brothers die with him. That's 3 of my people. Then you should have taught them not to hurt innocent women. Tommy's jaw clenches. He's doing calculations, weighing the value of 3 men against the cost of going to war with me. And if I refuse to accept this, then we have a problem. A big one. One that ends with your entire operation dismantled and every member of the Nguyen brothers dead or in prison. Is that really what you want, Tommy? Over a cousin who's more liability than asset and 2 thugs you can easily replace? It's a brutal calculation, but it's the language we both speak. In this world, everything is business. Personal feelings are luxuries we can't afford. Tommy stares at me for a long moment, then slowly he nods. Danny's been causing problems for a while now. Thinks he can do whatever he wants because of the family name. Maybe it's time he learned differently. But I want something in return. What? The Russo family's shipping operations move through Port Botany. We've been trying to expand our distribution into the eastern suburbs, but we need reliable transport. You give us access to your shipping routes, and I'll give you Danny and the Trans. It's a reasonable ask. Tommy's smart enough to know he can't save his cousin, so he's trying to get value from the situation. And giving the Nguyen brothers limited access to our shipping operations isn't a significant risk. It might even be useful to have another reason for them to remain loyal. Limited access, I counter. Specific routes, specific shipments. And if you or any of your people ever touch anyone connected to my operations again, staff, family, anyone, the deal is off and we're at war. Clear. Clear. We shake hands this time, sealing the agreement. Danny Nguyen and the Tran brothers just became collateral in a business transaction. Their lives traded for shipping routes and continued peace between organizations. This is the world I live in. This is who I am. Tommy leaves, and I turn to Marco. Get me addresses for Danny, Michael, and Jason. I want teams moving within the hour. This needs to be clean and quiet. No witnesses, no evidence, no bodies. Just the three of them? Marco asks. I consider this. Danny and the Trans are the primary targets, but there were apparently 14 other people in Danny's inner circle. Friends, associates, people who knew what was happening to Grace and did nothing. People who probably thought it was funny, who probably encouraged it. I want a list of everyone in Danny's crew, I say. Everyone who would have known what he was doing to Grace. Everyone who stood by and let it happen. Marco nods slowly. That's going to be more than 3 people, boss. I know. Get me the list. I'll decide who lives and who doesn't. By midnight, I have the information I need. Danny's crew consists of 15 men, himself, the Tran brothers, and 12 others, all of them between 24 and 32 years old, all of them with criminal records, all of them present at some point when Danny was abusing Grace. According to the intelligence my people gathered, they knew. They all knew. Some of them witnessed the abuse firsthand. Others heard about it and laughed. Not one of them thought to intervene or help. I look at the 15 faces on the screen in my office. Photos pulled from social media, driver's licenses, surveillance footage. 15 men who thought they were untouchable because they ran with Danny Nguyen. 15 men who are going to learn that actions have consequences. All of them, I tell Marco. I want all 15 gone by morning. Marco doesn't question me. He never does. It'll be messy. 15 people disappearing in one night, that's going to attract attention. I don't care. Make it clean operationally, but I don't care if people notice they're gone. I want everyone in Sydney to understand what happens when you hurt someone under my protection. Yes, boss. The operation begins at 1 in the morning. My people are professionals, ex-military, ex-police, men who've been doing this work for years. They move through Sydney like ghosts, picking up targets one by one. Danny Nguyen is first. He's at a nightclub in Darlinghurst, drunk and loud, surrounded by admirers. 2 of my men approach him in the alley outside when he steps out for a cigarette. He's confused at first. He knows the Russo family by reputation but has never dealt with us directly. He doesn't understand why we're interested in him. He understands by the time they put him in the van. Michael and Jason Tran are together at their house in Bankstown, playing video games and drinking beer. 4 of my men breach the door at 2 in the morning. The brothers are tough. They put up a fight, but they're outmatched and outnumbered. Within minutes, they're restrained and being loaded into a second van. The remaining 12 targets are spread across Sydney, Cabramatta, Bankstown, Fairfield, Parramatta, Rhodes. My teams move systematically, picking them up one by one. Some go quietly, too shocked or drunk or confused to resist. Others fight. It doesn't matter. By 4 in the morning, all 15 men are in custody. I meet them at a property I own in the industrial area near Botany Bay, a warehouse that's officially listed as storing construction equipment, but serves a darker purpose. The 15 men are lined up, hands bound, kneeling on the concrete floor. Some are crying, others are defiant. A few are still too drunk or high to fully understand what's happening. I walk slowly down the line, studying each face. These are the men who hurt Grace, who stood by while she was abused, who thought her pain was entertainment. Do any of you know why you're here, I ask. Silence. Then Danny, still drunk, still arrogant, spits out, "You've made a mistake. My cousin Tommy runs the Nguyen brothers. When he finds out you've touched me." "Your cousin sold you to me," I interrupt calmly. 2 hours ago, he traded your life for shipping access. You're here because you broke a woman's arm, you threatened her family, you filmed her humiliation. And these men, I gesture to the others, they knew about it. They stood by and let it happen. Some of them even helped. Understanding dawns on Danny's face, followed immediately by fear. "Look, I didn't know she worked for you. If I'd known, you would have what? Not beaten her, not broken her arm, not traumatized her so badly she was too terrified to ask for help. I crouched down in front of him. The problem, Danny, isn't that you hurt someone connected to me. The problem is that you're the kind of man who hurts women at all, and Sydney doesn't need men like that. I stand and address all 15 of them. Each of you made choices. You chose violence. You chose cruelty. You chose to hurt someone weaker than you and feel powerful doing it. And now you're going to face the consequences of those choices. One of the younger ones, a kid named Tyler, barely 24, starts sobbing. Please, I'm sorry. I didn't do anything. I just heard about it. I wasn't even there. But you knew, I say quietly. You knew, and you didn't help her. You didn't call the police. You didn't warn her family. You didn't do anything except laugh about it with your friends. That's complicity, Tyler. And in my world, complicity costs the same as participation. I signal to Marco, and my men move forward. What happens next is efficient and professional. The warehouse has excellent soundproofing. By the time the sun rises over Sydney Harbour, 15 men who hurt Grace Chen no longer exist. Their bodies will never be found. Their families will report them missing, and police will investigate, and eventually the cases will go cold. The Nguyen brothers will understand that this was a message, that there are lines that cannot be crossed, even by people who think they're connected. And Grace Chen will be safe. Finally. Completely safe. I return to Point Piper at dawn, exhausted and covered in blood that isn't mine. I shower in my private bathroom, watching the water run red, then clear as I scrub away the evidence of the night's work. Then I dress in fresh clothes and go downstairs to my study. Doctor. Mitchell has left Grace's pain medication and antibiotics on my desk with detailed instructions. I take them upstairs to the third-floor guest suite and knock quietly. Come in, Grace's voice calls softly. She's sitting up in bed, her casted arm propped on pillows, looking small and lost in the large room. The morning light streaming through the windows makes her look younger than 24, almost childlike. How are you feeling? I ask, setting the medications on the bedside table. Confused, she admits. Mr. Russo, what's happening? Your men moved my mother and sister to a hotel in the city. They won't tell me anything except that I'm safe now. And Danny, I've been calling his phone, and he's not answering, and Danny's gone, I say simply. She stares at me. Gone. He won't bother you again. Neither will the Tran brothers. Neither will anyone else who knew what Danny was doing to you. They're all gone, Grace. Permanently. The color drains from her face as she understands what I'm saying. You killed them. I protected you. That's what I promised I'd do. But 15 people. You can't just... I can, and I did. Grace, listen to me. Those men hurt you, they terrorized you, they threatened your family. They filmed your abuse and used it as blackmail. They deserved what happened to them. She's shaking now, tears streaming down her face. I never wanted anyone to die. I just wanted to be free of him. I just wanted to be safe. And now you are. You're safe, your family is safe, and you never have to be afraid of Danny Nguyen again. But at what cost? She whispers. 15 lives, Mr. Russo. 15 people dead because of me. I move closer, sitting in the chair beside the bed. Not because of you, because of their own choices. Danny chose to hurt you. His friends chose to let it happen. They created this situation. I just resolved it. By killing them. Yes, by killing them. Grace, I know this is difficult for you to understand. You're a good person. You've probably never hurt anyone in your life. But I'm not a good person. I'm a criminal. I've killed before, and I'll kill again. The only difference this time is that the people I killed actually deserved it. She looks at me with an expression I can't quite read. Fear, yes, but also something else. Curiosity, maybe, or recognition. Who are you? She asks quietly. Really? I'm Luca Russo. My family has been in Australia for 3 generations, building an empire that operates in the shadows. We control shipping, construction, real estate. We launder money, move drugs, eliminate competition. We're the people your mother warned you about when you were a child. Then why do you care what happens to me? I'm just your maid, I'm nobody. You work for me. That makes you somebody. In my world, Grace, loyalty is everything. I protect my people, and in return they're loyal to me. You're one of my people now, whether you intended to be or not. She's quiet for a long moment, processing this. Then, what happens now? Do I go back to my apartment? Back to my life? No. Your old life is over. You can't go back to Strathfield. Too many people there knew about your relationship with Danny. Too many questions would be asked. I have a penthouse in Barangaroo. Secure, comfortable, with 24-hour security. You and your family will stay there for now. Later, if you want, I can help you relocate somewhere else entirely. New city, new identity, new start. You'd do that? I take care of my people, Grace. Always. She looks down at her casted arm, then back at me. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to thank you for saving me or how to process what you did to save me. You don't have to say anything. You just have to heal, physically and emotionally. Everything else we'll figure out later. I stand to leave, but her voice stops me. Mr. Russo, why did you notice? My arm, I mean. I've been hiding it for 2 days. The other staff didn't notice. Your security didn't notice. Why did you? It's a good question. Why did I notice? I've had dozens of staff members over the years, and I barely register them as individuals. They're part of the machinery that keeps my life running, as invisible as the technology in the walls. But something about Grace's flinch triggered an instinct I didn't know I had. Maybe because she reminded me of my sister. Dark hair, delicate features, that look of carefully maintained composure over deep pain. My sister Sophia died 15 years ago, killed by a rival family when she was only 19. I wasn't strong enough to protect her then. I was still young, still learning the business, still figuring out who I was. But I'm strong enough now. I don't know, I tell Grace honestly. Maybe I was paying more attention than usual. Maybe I was in the right place at the right time. Or maybe some part of me recognized that you needed help, and I was the only one who could provide it. Will you tell me about them? She asks quietly. The men who aren't here anymore. I need to know. I didn't imagine how bad they were. I need to know they deserved what happened. So I tell her. I pull up the files on my phone and go through each one. Danny's history of violence against women, 3 previous girlfriends, all of whom filed restraining orders that mysteriously disappeared. The Tran brothers work as enforcers, the people they'd hurt for money and entertainment. The 12 others, each with their own history of violence, assault, cruelty. By the time I finish, Grace is crying again, but differently. I didn't know, she whispers. I knew Danny was bad, but I didn't know about the others. I didn't know I was just one in a long line of women he hurt. You were the last, I say firmly. No one else will suffer what you suffered. I made sure of that. She nods, wiping her eyes. Thank you. I know I should be horrified. I know I should feel guilty, but mostly I just feel relieved. Is that wrong? No, it's human. You survived something terrible and now you're safe. There's no wrong way to feel about that. I leave her to rest and return to my study. The sun is fully up now. Sydney waking to a normal Tuesday morning. People going to work, taking children to school, living their ordinary lives without any idea what happened in the darkness while they slept. 15 men disappeared from Sydney last night. By tomorrow their families will start making missing person reports. By next week the police will start investigating, but they won't find anything. My people are too good, too careful. The men will simply cease to exist, as if they'd never been there at all. And Grace Chen will heal. She'll stay in the Barangaroo penthouse with her family. She'll see therapists, take time to recover, figure out what she wants her new life to look like. And I'll make sure she has whatever she needs to build that life, because I protect my people, always. Over the following weeks, I find myself checking on Grace more often than necessary. At first I tell myself it's just due diligence. making sure she's recovering, that she has everything she needs, that the situation hasn't created any complications. But gradually I realize it's more than that. She's different from anyone I've known. Most people in my world are either predators or prey, sharks or sheep. Grace is neither. She survived something that should have broken her, and instead of becoming hard and bitter, she's remained soft, gentle, kind. She volunteers at a women's shelter. She calls her mother every day. She leaves thank you notes for my staff when they do things for her. She feeds stray cats in the park near the penthouse. She's everything I'm not. Everything I gave up being when I took control of my family's empire. One evening, I arrive at the Barangaroo penthouse unannounced. I own it, so I don't need permission, and find Grace on the balcony, watching the sunset over Darling Harbour. Her arm is healing well, the cast due to come off next week. She looks healthier than when I first brought her here, colour in her cheeks, light in her eyes. "Mr. Russo," she says, not quite surprised. "I didn't know you were visiting today." "I was in the area, thought I'd check on you." She smiles slightly. "You've been checking on me a lot lately. Is that a problem?" "No, it's just interesting. You're a busy man. You run a complicated organization. And yet you find time to visit your former maid to make sure she's healing properly. You're not my maid anymore, you're—" I pause, unsure how to finish that sentence. What is she? An employee? A responsibility? Something more complicated? "I'm what?" she prompts gently. "You're someone I care about," I admit, the words feeling strange in my mouth. "Someone I want to make sure is okay." She studies me for a long moment. "Can I ask you something? And will you answer honestly?" "Yes." "Do you regret it, killing all those men for me?" "No. Not even a little." I join her at the balcony railing, looking out at the harbour. "Grace, in my life, I've done many things I regret. I've hurt innocent people. I've made decisions that had unintended consequences. I've failed people I should have protected. But killing Danny Nguyen and his crew, that's not one of my regrets. They deserved what happened, and the world is better without them. That's a very black and white view. My world is black and white. There are no grey areas when it comes to protecting the people I care about." She's quiet for a moment. Then, "My mother wants to meet you, to thank you for what you did for our family. She's been asking when you'll visit." The thought of meeting Grace's mother, a civilian, someone completely removed from my world, is oddly terrifying. "I'm not sure that's a good idea." "Why not? You saved her daughter. You moved us into a luxury penthouse. You've paid for everything, doctors, therapy, security. She wants to thank you properly." "Grace, your mother doesn't know what I really am. She thinks I'm a legitimate businessman who helped you out of the goodness of my heart. If she knew the truth—" "She knows," Grace interrupts. "Not all the details, but she's not stupid, Mr. Russo. She knows you don't get rich enough to own multiple properties and have private security and make 15 people disappear overnight through legitimate business alone. She knows exactly what you are, and she still wants to thank you." This surprises me. She's not afraid. Terrified, probably, but more grateful than afraid. "You saved her daughters. Both of them. My sister Amy was Danny's next target. He'd been making comments about her, talking about how pretty she was growing up." If things had continued— She doesn't finish the sentence. She doesn't need to. "I'd be honored to meet your mother," I say finally. The dinner happens 3 days later. Grace's mother, Lin Chen, is a tiny woman in her 60s, with grey-streaked black hair and hands that show decades of hard work. She's worked as a seamstress in a factory in Hurstville for 30 years, raising 2 daughters alone after her husband died. She's exactly the kind of person I rarely interact with, working alone after her husband died. She's exactly the kind of person I rarely interact with, working-class immigrant, operating in a world completely separate from mine. She greets me formally with a deep bow that makes me uncomfortable. "Mr. Russo, thank you for coming. Thank you for everything you've done for my family. Mrs. Chen, please, you don't need to bow. I'm just glad I could help. We sit down to dinner, food Grace and her sister Amy prepared, traditional Chinese dishes I don't recognize but taste incredible. The conversation is stilted at first, everyone trying too hard to be polite, but gradually we relax into something more natural. Mrs. Chen tells me about her life, coming to Australia from Shanghai in her 20s, working multiple jobs to support her family, watching her daughters grow up Australian, while maintaining their Chinese heritage. Amy, 19, and studying nursing at university, talks about her classes and her dreams of working in pediatrics someday. And Grace just watches me, a small smile on her face like she's conducting some kind of test I don't know I'm taking. After dinner, Mrs. Chen takes my hand. Mr. Russo, I know what you are. Grace told me some of it, and I can guess the rest. In my old neighborhood in Shanghai, there were men like you, powerful men who operated outside the law, dangerous men. I start to pull away, but she holds my hand firmly. But I also know that you saved my daughter when no one else could. The police wouldn't help. Danny had connections. His family had money. The legal system failed Grace completely. And you did what needed to be done. You protected her. You protected all of us. So whatever you are, whatever you've done in your life, I will always be grateful. You gave me back my daughter. There are tears in her eyes, and I find my own vision blurring. When was the last time someone thanked me? Really thanked me, not out of fear or obligation, but genuine gratitude. You're welcome, Mrs. Chen, I manage. She's special, she deserves to be protected. She is special, Mrs. Chen agrees, and I think maybe you see that. Maybe you see her the way I do, not as a victim to be saved, but as a person worth knowing. After dinner, Grace walks me to the elevator. That went well, she says. My mother likes you. She usually has excellent instincts about people. What about you? I ask. What are your instincts saying? She considers this. That you're more complicated than you let people see. That you've built walls so high and thick that you've forgotten what it's like to let people in. That you did something incredibly violent to protect me, and somehow that doesn't scare me the way it should. It should scare you, I say seriously. I'm not a good man, Grace. Maybe not. But you're a good man to your people. And somehow, I became one of your people. So maybe that's enough. The elevator arrives and I step inside. As the doors start to close, Grace reaches out and stops them. Mr. Russo? Luca, would you like to have dinner again sometime? Just the two of us? My heart does something strange in my chest. Are you asking me on a date? I'm asking if you'd like to spend time with me outside of checking up on my recovery. Is that so hard to believe? Yes, I admit. You've seen what I'm capable of. You know what I am. Why would you want to spend time with me? Because you saved my life, she says simply. Because you killed 15 people to keep me safe. Because you moved my family into a penthouse and paid for everything without asking for anything in return. Because my mother likes you, and my mother is never wrong. And because when I look at you, I don't just see the dangerous crime boss, I see someone who's lonely, someone who's built an empire but forgotten how to build a life. The words hit harder than any physical blow, because she's right. I have everything, money, power, respect, fear, but I don't have a life. I have an existence, a role I play, a position I maintain. I don't have friends or relationships or anything real. Dinner, I say. Just the two of us. I'd like that. She smiles, and it transforms her face. Good. Saturday night? You pick the place. Over the following months, Grace and I do something I never thought possible. We build a relationship. It starts with dinners, expensive restaurants where I can ensure security and privacy, but gradually it expands. We walk through the Royal Botanic Gardens. We watch sunsets from the harbour. We talk about everything and nothing. She tells me about her childhood, growing up between two cultures, feeling Chinese at school and Australian at home. She tells me about her dreams of studying art, dreams she put aside to work and support her family. She tells me about Danny, about how she mistook control for caring, about how she slowly realized she was trapped. And I tell her things I've never told anyone, about my sister Sophia, killed when I was 23, the sister I couldn't protect, about my father's death, the weight of inheriting an empire I wasn't sure I was ready for, about the loneliness of power, the isolation that comes from being someone everyone fears but no one truly knows. Do you ever think about leaving? She asks one night as we're sitting in my Point Piper mansion overlooking the harbour. Just walking away from all of this? Every day, I admit. But I can't. This empire was built by my grandfather, expanded by my father. Hundreds of people depend on it for their livelihoods. Legitimate employees in our legal businesses, yes, but also the people in our less legal operations. If I walk away, it all collapses. Wars start. People die. So you're trapped too, she observes. Just a different kind of trap. Perhaps, but I chose this trap. You didn't choose yours. She moves closer to me on the sofa. What if you could choose something different? What if there was a way to build something new while still maintaining what you've built? Like what? I don't know yet, but Luca, you're brilliant. You've built an empire. Surely you can figure out how to evolve it into something that doesn't require you to kill people to protect those you care about. It's naive, but I love her optimism. Love that she thinks I can be better than I am. Love that she sees potential in me that I stopped seeing in myself years ago. 6 months after that first night when I noticed her flinch, I realize I'm in love with Grace Chen. It's a terrifying realization. Love is vulnerability, and in my world, vulnerability is death. But I can't deny it anymore. She's become the center of my world, the person I think about first thing in the morning and last thing at night, the person whose opinion matters, whose happiness matters, whose safety matters more than anything else. And I think she feels the same way. The way she looks at me, touches my hand, leans into me when we're alone. The way she defends me when her friends or family question what I am. The way she's slowly, carefully, letting me into her life. One night, as we're having dinner at the Barangaroo penthouse, Mrs. Chen and Amy have taken to visiting Mrs. Chen's sister in Brisbane for a few days, giving us privacy. Grace asks me something I've been dreading. Have you killed anyone since that night? Since Danny and his crew? I could lie, should lie, but I've promised her honesty. Yes. She sets down her wine glass. How many? 3. All of them threats to my operations. All of them people who knew the rules and broke them anyway. Do you feel guilty? No, should I? She's quiet for a long moment. I don't know. I want to say yes, that all life is precious, that violence is always wrong. But then I remember what Danny did to me, what his crew let him do, and I think about how you ended that, and I can't bring myself to condemn you for it. Does it bother you that I'm capable of this? It should. It should terrify me. But Luca, I've seen both sides of you. I've seen the ruthless crime boss who makes people disappear, and I've seen the man who visits my mother, who asks about Amy's classes, who sits with me on bad days and doesn't try to fix things, just listens. You're both of those people. And somehow, I'm falling in love with both of them. My heart stops. Grace, I know it's insane. I know I should run far away from you. I know this can never be normal or easy, but I can't help how I feel. And I need to know, do you feel anything for me? Or am I just a responsibility, someone you protected who became a habit? I stand moving to where she's sitting and kneel in front of her. You're not a habit. You're not a responsibility. You're the first person in 15 years who's made me feel human, who's made me want to be better than I am, who's made me believe that maybe I'm more than just my father's legacy and my family's empire. So what are we doing? She asks softly. What is this? I don't know. But I know I want you in my life. I know I'll protect you with everything I have. I know that when I think about the future, you're in it. Is that enough? She cups my face in her hands that are so much smaller than mine, so much gentler, but somehow stronger. It's enough. For now it's enough. We kiss, and it's like nothing I've ever experienced. Every other relationship I've had has been transactional, physical, but not emotional. This is different. This is real. That night, Grace stays at Point Piper for the first time. Not in the guest suite, but in my bedroom. And for the first time in my adult life, I sleep through the night without nightmares. Building a life with Grace while running a criminal empire is complicated. She insists on maintaining boundaries. She won't live in my house permanently until we figure out what this is. She won't take money from me beyond what's necessary for her family's security. She won't be involved in any business dealings. But she also won't let me keep the two parts of my life completely separate. She attends some of my legitimate business functions, meeting the people I do business with. She asks questions about my operations, not the details of illegal activities, but the broader structure, the legitimate businesses that provide cover and income. And slowly, carefully, she starts suggesting changes. Your construction company, she says one day, employs mostly men. Why not expand to train and hire women? There's a massive demand for skilled female tradespeople, and you'd be building goodwill in communities that currently see you as just another exploitative employer. It's a good idea. We implement it. Your shipping operations move through Port Botany, but you have no community presence in the surrounding suburbs. What if you sponsored youth programs, sports teams, showed people that Russo businesses care about local communities? Another good idea. We do it. The restaurants you own in Leichhardt and Darlinghurst, why not partner with food rescue organizations? Take the food that would be thrown away and distribute it to people who need it. We implement that too. Slowly, the Russo family's reputation begins to shift. We're still feared, we need to be, but we're also starting to be respected in new ways. The criminal operations continue as always, but the legitimate face of our empire becomes more legitimate. Marco notices the change. The girl's good for you, boss. I've known you 10 years and I've never seen you like this. Like what? Happy, present. Like you're actually living your life instead of just managing your empire. He's right, though I'd never admit it to him. 2 years after that first night, Grace moves into Point Piper permanently. Her mother and sister stay in the Barangaroo penthouse. It's safer, and they're comfortable there. Grace brings very little with her. She's never been materialistic. But what she brings transforms my house into a home. Plants appear in windows. Art covers walls that were once bare. The kitchen, which I barely used, becomes alive with cooking experiments. She adopts 2 rescue cats that sleep on our bed and demand attention at inconvenient times. My house, once a showpiece of wealth and power, becomes a place where laughter happens, where Grace dances to music while cooking, where we watch terrible television together on Sunday mornings, where we fight occasionally. She has strong opinions and isn't afraid to challenge me, and then make up, where I'm not Luca Russo, head of the Russo family empire, where I'm just Luca, Grace's partner, a man trying to figure out how to balance who he is with who he wants to be. On the 3rd anniversary of the night, I noticed her flinch. I take Grace to dinner at Key, overlooking the Opera House. It's where we had our first official date, though neither of us admitted that's what it was at the time. After dinner, as we're watching the harbour lights reflect on the water, I pull out a small box. Grace Chen, 3 years ago, I noticed you flinch. That moment changed my life. You've made me better than I was, kinder than I thought I could be, more human than I've been since I was 23 years old. I know I'm not the kind of man anyone should marry. I know my world is dangerous and complicated, but I'm asking anyway, will you marry me? She takes the box, opens it. The ring inside is a simple platinum band with a single diamond, elegant and understated, like her, and starts crying. Yes, she says. Yes, I'll marry you. Even though you're a crime boss. Even though this is insane. Even though my mother is going to have a heart attack. Yes. We marry 6 months later in a small ceremony at the Royal Botanic Gardens. Mrs. Chen cries through the entire thing. Amy serves as Grace's maid of honor. Marco is my best man. A handful of Grace's friends attend, along with key members of my organization, the people who've been loyal, who've understood that Grace is not to be touched or threatened or harmed in any way. Tommy Nguyen sends a gift, an expensive vase with a card that reads, "Congratulations. Thank you for the business opportunities." It's his way of acknowledging that Danny's death actually benefited his organization, removing a liability and opening new opportunities. I smash the vase after the wedding. Some things can't be forgiven, even when they work out for the best. Our honeymoon is 2 weeks in New Zealand, far enough from Sydney that we can be just Luca and Grace, not the crime boss and his unlikely wife. We hike through mountains, soak in hot springs, eat incredible food and talk about the future. "I want children," Grace says one night as we're lying in bed in our Queenstown hotel room. "Is that possible? Can we bring children into your world?" My father did. So did my grandfather. It's possible, but it's not easy. Children become targets. They become leverage. But they also become reasons to build something better. Luca, you've already started changing how you operate. Making the legitimate businesses more legitimate. Building community goodwill. What if we continued that? What if we created something that our children could eventually inherit without shame? It's a dream, maybe an impossible one, but she makes me want to try. We'll try, I promise. We'll build something better. For our children, for you, for the future. 5 years after I noticed Grace flinch, she gives birth to our daughter. We name her Sophia, after my sister. She has Grace's dark hair and my grey eyes, and the moment I hold her, I understand something my father tried to tell me before he died. You think you're building an empire for power, for wealth, for legacy. But really, you're building it for moments like this, for the people you love, for the chance to give them a better life than you had. The Russo Empire continues to operate. The criminal activities continue. I'm still who I am, and that doesn't change overnight. But with Grace and Sophia, I have something worth protecting beyond just power and money. I have a family. A real one, not just the organization I lead, but people I love. People who love me back, despite knowing everything I am. And I will do anything, absolutely anything, to keep them safe. Which brings me to tonight, 15 years after I first noticed Grace flinch. Sophia is 14, beautiful and fierce, with her mother's compassion and my determination. She knows what I am. We've never lied to her about my business, but she also knows I'm her father, and I would burn the world down to protect her. She comes home from school upset. Someone at her expensive private school in Vaucluse has been bullying her. A boy named Ethan, whose father runs a hedge fund and thinks his money makes him important. The bullying has been escalating. Today, Ethan pushed Sophia hard enough that she fell and scraped her hands on concrete. Grace treats the scrapes while I sit at the kitchen table watching. Sophia is trying not to cry, trying to be tough, but I can see she's shaken. "Tell the principal tomorrow," Grace says gently. "We'll schedule a meeting with Ethan's parents." "That won't help," Sophia says. "His dad is friends with the principal. Nothing ever happens to Ethan." She goes upstairs to her room, and Grace and I look at each other. "Don't," she says immediately. "Don't what?" "Whatever you're thinking." "I can see it in your eyes. Ethan is 14, Luca, a child. You can't—" "I'm not going to hurt a child," I interrupt. "But his father, that's different. Luca, Grace, someone pushed our daughter, hurt her, made her cry. You're telling me I should just let that stand?" She's quiet for a long moment. Then finally, "Do what you need to do. But Luca, remember that 15 years ago, someone hurt me, and you made 15 people disappear. I'm not saying don't protect Sophia. I'm saying remember what that protection cost. Remember that violence creates ripples. Make sure you're choosing the right response." She's right. as she usually is. I take a breath and force myself to think strategically rather than emotionally. I'll handle it, I tell her, appropriately. The next day, I have my people do research on Ethan's father, Marcus Whitfield. He runs a boutique hedge fund called Whitfield Capital, managing investments for high net worth individuals. On the surface, he's successful, respectable, exactly the kind of person who sends his children to elite private schools. But my people are thorough, and they find interesting details. Whitfield Capital has been making some questionable investments. There are whispers of insider trading. Some of his clients have connections to offshore tax havens, nothing illegal enough to trigger serious investigation, but plenty that would destroy his reputation if it became public. I arrange a meeting at his office in the CBD. He's surprised when I arrive. Luca Russo doesn't typically interact with people in his world, but he's arrogant enough to think this is a potential business opportunity. "Mr. Russo," he says, offering his hand. "This is unexpected. I've heard of your construction and shipping operations. Are you looking for investment opportunities?" I don't shake his hand. "I'm here about your son." His expression shifts. "Ethan? What about him?" "He's been bullying my daughter. Yesterday he pushed her hard enough that she fell and injured herself. I'm here to make sure that doesn't happen again." Whitfield's face hardens. "Boys will be boys, Mr. Russo. Kids have conflicts. I'm sure whatever happened was just typical schoolyard behavior. There's nothing typical about a boy repeatedly targeting my daughter. Your son is going to apologize to Sophia tomorrow, in front of witnesses. And he's going to leave her alone from now on." "Or what?" Whitfield leans back in his chair, confident. "Are you threatening me?" "Because I have to tell you, Mr. Russo, I have powerful friends. I'm not intimidated by—" I slide a folder across his desk. "Before you finish that sentence, you should look at this." He opens the folder and I watch the color drain from his face. Inside are documents detailing every questionable transaction his hedge fund has made over the past 5 years. Evidence of insider trading, records of offshore accounts, communications that prove he knew exactly what he was doing. "Where did you get this?" he asks, his voice shaking. "I have resources and connections, and if you don't do exactly what I'm telling you, these documents will find their way to the Securities and Investments Commission, the Federal Police, and every major financial journalist in Australia. Your company will be destroyed. Your reputation will be ruined. You'll likely face criminal charges." "This is blackmail." "This is protection of my family," I correct. "Your son hurt my daughter. You've apparently taught him that his money and connections make him untouchable. I'm here to teach him, and you, that they don't." Whitfield stares at the documents, his hands trembling. "What do you want?" "I already told you. Your son apologizes to Sophia. Tomorrow. And he never goes near her again. Additionally, I want you to make a substantial anonymous donation to the school's anti-bullying program. Let's say $100,000. Consider it a lesson in consequences. 100,000 is nothing compared to what you'll lose if I release those documents. Do we have an understanding, Mr. Whitfield?" He nods, defeated. Yes, we have an understanding." "Good, because I need you to know something else. If your son ever touches my daughter again, if he looks at her wrong, if he spreads rumors about her, if he does anything to make her uncomfortable, these documents go public. And that's not all. I'll make sure every parent at that school knows exactly what kind of man you are. Every client of your hedge fund will receive copies. Your world will implode. Are we clear?" "Crystal clear." I stand to leave, then pause at the door. "Oh, and Mr. Whitfield?" "Grace, my wife, asked me to handle this appropriately, to remember that violence creates ripples, so I'm giving you a chance to handle this the civilized way. Don't make me regret that choice." The next day, Ethan Whitfield approaches Sophia at school, and in front of several teachers and students, apologizes for pushing her and for his previous behavior. He tells her it won't happen again. And then he transfers to a different school, Apparently his parents decided a fresh start would be good for him. Sophia comes home that afternoon looking confused but relieved. "Dad, did you do something?" "I had a conversation with Ethan's father, man to man. We reached an understanding." She hugs me tight. "Thank you. But Dad, I'm glad you didn't, do what you did for Mum. Ethan's just a stupid kid. He didn't deserve that." "No," I agree. "He didn't." Which is why I handled it differently. Grace, overhearing this conversation from the kitchen, gives me a smile that says she's proud of me, and somehow that matters more than any amount of fear or respect I've earned through violence. That night, after Sophia is asleep, Grace and I sit on our balcony overlooking the harbour, drinking wine and watching the city lights. 15 years, she says softly, since that night. 15 years since I noticed you flinch. Best decision I ever made, paying attention. Best decision I ever made, accepting your help, even though I didn't fully understand what it would mean. Do you regret it? I ask. Any of it? She considers this seriously. I regret that 15 men died. I wish there had been another way, but I don't regret surviving. I don't regret building a life with you. I don't regret Sophia. So no, I don't regret it. But I carry it. We both do. We do, I acknowledge. And maybe that's appropriate. Maybe we should carry it. Those men, they made choices that led to their deaths. But their deaths still happened. People still lost sons, brothers, friends. That's worth carrying. Have you ever looked them up? Grace asks. The families? Wondered what happened to them? No, that would be self-indulgent. Looking for absolution I don't deserve. But I've thought about them, especially when I look at Sophia. Some of those men had sisters, mothers, people who loved them despite what they were. People who still mourn them. And you still don't regret it? No, because if I hadn't done it, you might not be here. Sophia definitely wouldn't exist. Our life together wouldn't exist. So I carry the weight of those deaths, but I don't regret them. I can't. Grace leans her head on my shoulder. That's the difference between you and me. I couldn't have done it, even to save myself. I could never have killed them. I know. That's why I did it for you. We sit in comfortable silence watching the harbour. Somewhere out there in the western suburbs, there are families still wondering what happened to their sons, brothers, friends who disappeared 15 years ago. Somewhere out there those deaths still echo. But here on this balcony, Grace is alive. Sophia is alive. We're building something that might eventually become legitimate, something our daughter can inherit without shame. And maybe that doesn't justify what I did. Maybe nothing justifies taking 15 lives, but it explains it. And in my world, explanation is all I can offer. The years continue to pass. Sophia grows up beautiful and strong, with her mother's compassion and my strategic mind. She goes to university, studies international relations, and, to my surprise and Grace's delight, decides she wants to work in conflict resolution. I want to help people solve their problems without violence, she tells us at dinner one night when she's 22. I know what you did for Mum, Dad. I know 15 people died because they hurt her, and I know you'd do it again. But I want to believe there's another way, that people can be protected without others having to die. It's naive, but it's also beautiful, and I support her fully, even knowing she's implicitly criticizing the choices I made. Grace and I age together. She turns 40, then 45, then 50. I turn 55, then 60. The grey in my hair becomes white. The lines on Grace's face deepen. But we're still together, still in love, still building our imperfect life. The Russo Empire evolves. Under my guidance and with Grace's constant input, we slowly divest from the more violent criminal operations. The drug distribution ends, the protection rackets are phased out. We focus on the legitimate businesses, construction, shipping, real estate, and on building genuine community presence. It takes decades, And we never become completely legitimate. Some stains don't wash out, but we become better, less destructive, more constructive. Marco retires at 65, finally ready to step away from the life. His replacement is a woman named Victoria Santos, former federal police, who brings a different perspective to security operations. She's just as capable of violence as Marco was, but she also understands de-escalation, negotiation, strategic thinking beyond brute force. Mrs. Chen passes away peacefully at 83, surrounded by her daughters and granddaughter. At her funeral, Grace holds my hand and says, "She always believed you saved me for a reason, that there was something I was supposed to do, something we were supposed to build together." "What do you think that was?" I ask. "This, our family, our life." The changes we've made to your organization, showing that people can evolve, can become better than they were, that's what she believed, and I think she was right. On the 20th anniversary of the night, I noticed Grace flinch. I do something I've never done before. I visit the cemetery where some of the 15 men are buried. Not all of them. Some families moved away, some never recovered the bodies. But a few are here, in cemeteries across Western Sydney. I don't bring flowers. I don't pray. I just stand at each grave and acknowledge what I did, the lives I ended, the families I destroyed. I'm not sorry, I tell the graves. I'd do it again. But I acknowledge what it cost. I acknowledge that you were people, not just obstacles. I acknowledge that your deaths have weight. Grace finds me at the last grave, Danny Nguyens, in a cemetery in Cabramatta. She doesn't say anything, just takes my hand. "Do you think he'd have changed?" I ask. "If he'd lived?" "Do you think he might have become better?" "I don't know," Grace says honestly. "Maybe people can change, but Luca, you couldn't take that chance. Not with my life. Not with my family's safety. I took away his chance to change. He took away his own chance when he broke my arm, when he threatened my family, when he chose violence. You responded to the choice he made." We stand there for a few more minutes, then leave. I don't plan to return. This isn't about seeking forgiveness or making peace. It's about acknowledging that my actions had consequences beyond saving Grace. That 15 men died, and that matters, even if I don't regret it. I'm 68 years old when I finally step down as head of the Russo family. Victoria Santos takes over, with my guidance and Grace's input. The organization continues, more legitimate than it's ever been, more focused on community building than exploitation. Sophia, now 34 and married with 2 children of her own, works for the United Nations, mediating conflicts in regions torn apart by violence. She's everything I'm not. Patient, diplomatic, committed to non-violence. And she's everything I hope she would be. Grace and I retire to a smaller house in Palm Beach, away from the city, overlooking the ocean. We spend our days reading, talking, watching our grandchildren grow, reflecting on the strange and violent and beautiful life we've built together. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Grace asks one evening, as we're watching the sunset. "Not just that night, but everything that came after, building a life together despite how it started." "I think we did the only thing we could do," I answer. "I saw you hurt, and I responded the only way I knew how. You accepted my protection, even knowing what it would cost. And then we both tried to build something better from that violent beginning. Did we succeed? I don't know. But we tried. We're still trying. I love you," she says simply. "After all these years, after everything, I still love you. Is that wrong? Should I not love a man who killed 15 people? I can't answer that, but I love you too. I've loved you since the moment I noticed you flinch. Since the moment I realized you were in pain and I had the power to stop it. Everything I've done since then has been about protecting you, building a life with you, trying to be worthy of you. You've always been worthy," she says firmly, "not despite what you did that night and not because of it, just worthy, as you are." We sit in silence as the sun drops below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink and purple. Somewhere out there in Sydney, the Russo organization continues under new leadership. Somewhere out there, families still wonder what happened to their sons and brothers and friends who disappeared 23 years ago. And here, on this beach, I'm just Luca, Grace's husband, Sophia's father, 2 grandchildren's grandfather, an old man who once did terrible things for what he believed were the right reasons, and who spent decades trying to build something good from that violence. I don't know if I've succeeded. I don't know if redemption is even possible for someone like me, but I know this: Grace is alive. Our daughter is alive. Our grandchildren are alive. The organization I inherited has become something better than it was. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's all anyone can ask, to leave the world slightly better than they found it, to protect the people they love, to try to be better than they were. I noticed her flinch, and that moment changed everything. Not just for the 15 men who died, not just for Grace and her family, but for me, for who I became, for the choices I made every day after that night. Would I do it again? Yes, without hesitation, without regret. But would I carry the weight of those choices for the rest of my life? Also, yes, that's what it means to love someone in my world, to protect them completely, to eliminate threats without mercy, and then to carry the consequences of that protection forever. Grace reaches for my hand as the last light fades from the sky, and I hold on tight, grateful for every moment we've built together from the ashes of that violent night, when I noticed her flinch and decided that her life was worth more than 15 others.